A Light Within Darkness Chapter 67, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Things with Isha were tense between herself and the other Eldari that were within my sect, which also included Ellesmere. Because Isha was feeling rather spiteful of the Eldar for a number of reasons. Like, for example, I learned there was the Craftworld Lugganath that fell victim to some disease called the Brittle Coma, and when the strongest Pysker of the Craftworld went to Nurgle's realm, they had zero intent on saving her and only came to learn the cure for their disease. Funny enough, when I flew over Nurgle's garden, I did see their petrified remains in the forms of the Wailing Trees as Nurgle dealt with them for causing damage to his gardens of pestilence. So, although the Eldar were frankly ecstatic to have a goddess back and even happier that it wasn't the cringe-ass god of clowns they had to rely on previously that led the Harlequins, Isha simply didn't have any love for her previous children. They had disappointed her too many times for a stretch that lasted millions of years. She had given up on them, frankly, and had instead wholly devoted herself to the two things: the spirit herb farms and myself. I casually sat in front of a trio of disciples that had earned the necessary sect points to earn a personal lesson for an hour, and while I was giving the lesson to the three human disciples I had tried to ignore how Isha was sitting her back against my own as she gently pruned a small spiritual herb tree that was similar to a bonsai tree but needed for more attention and care due to its nature of overgrowing and killing itself with its overgrowth. But she was a bit distracting with how she was clearly enjoying the little exercise. Thus, for potions, although it will be simpler to make, it isn't as efficient, so you should focus on compressing the medicinal ingredients and remains into a pill or elixir that will carry all the effects without losing it. Also, although for now it's not that useful with your lower cultivation ranks, but pills and elixirs last much longer in proper storage than potions can. I explained to the three alchemists, that were honestly some of the richest members in the sect, with how they had people gathering resources for them. So I taught the younger alchemists some more recipes within the hour they scheduled, so that left me with Isha still leaning up against me silently once the three disciples rushed off to try the new recipes I taught them. The only sounds left in the room were Isha's ultra-sharp and durable scissors that were snipping through the thin branches of the spirit herb she was pruning, until finally, I broke the silence as I knew we needed to discuss this. Isha, I get that you are not happy with Eldar in of themselves. But can you give Ellesmere a break? I asked plainly, and the sounds of her scissors snipping through the dense branches stopped, creating a tense silence as she sat stiffly behind me. When no response was given to me after a whole minute with Isha just sitting there silently, I sighed and turned around on my meditation mat and pulled Isha flush against my chest with my arms wrapping around her soft stomach as I rested my chin on her shoulder. Isha! I almost whined, and she audibly snorted at my words before returning to her stoic silence, but having broken the ice, I just aired out my thoughts. Look, I love and care for Ellesmere, and when she feels too awkward to be close to me due to how you disdain Eldar, that becomes a bit of an issue, I explained plainly to her. Sure, Isha was hot and would be useful once she gained some of her power back. I still loved Ellesmere, and my lewd space elf was too busy feeling awkward and sad about being scorned by her race's fertility goddess, so I couldn't have Ellesmere folded into a mating press to burn off my excess energy at the end of the day. It was a terrible loss to both of us, as not only was I getting blue balls, but Ellesmere herself was getting cranky due to our yang and yin energies overflowing and beginning to affect our emotions. In response to my words, Isha sighed and, with her back fully leaning into my chest as I absent-mindedly rubbed my hands across her smooth belly, making her shiver at the affectionate touch before she began to speak. She faltered before taking a breath and restarting. I have made my thoughts about the Eldari clear. I won't hurt, nor allow you, lover, to come to harm, and I would make sure any child you two bear comes to term fruitfully. But I doubt that I will become friends with her, my husband. She said softly as she dropped the scissors to gently take my hands and place them between her very large matronly breasts so I could feel her heart beating against my hands. At that, I could only shrug. Snagging Isha as some kind of wife was not really the game plan when I went for her. And although there was a rift between her and Ellesmere, frankly, if I didn't make her my lover and had her as only the sect's caretaker, she would probably have an even more hostile relationship with Ellesmere in the end. So, how this ended up was probably for the best. Ellesmere and Isha had countless years to smooth out their relationship, assuming this planet didn't get blown up for some reason. I was just going to enjoy the perks of being married to a lewd space elf and her race's divine mother/fertility goddess. Fine, I will attempt to be more approachable with your lover, Jake Barris. She spoke softly before moving out of my grip and spinning around so she was fully sitting in my lap, and with her breasts all but in my face, she whispered. Will that satisfy you? Or do you desire more of me as your wife, Jake? She asked huskily, and as my hands sunk into her pillowy ass, I saw my immediate future. I was going to mate impress and impregnate this lewd space elf goddess.